the mysterious birth of a civilization. Long before Rome was even a village, long before the pyramids of Egypt reached their full glory, a remarkable civilization was already rising along the banks of the Yellow River in what is now northern China. The earliest Chinese societies emerged around 5000 BC. These were not simple tribes. They were sophisticated agricultural communities that understood irrigation, pottery, and ancestor worship. Chinese legends speak of the 3 sovereigns and 5 emperors, mythical rulers who taught humanity farming, writing, medicine, and silk production. While these figures are legendary, they reflect a deep cultural truth. China has always seen itself as the center of civilization, the Middle Kingdom. By around 2070 BC, the semi-legendary Xia dynasty appeared. Archaeological evidence is still debated, but what followed is undeniable. The Shang dynasty, c. 1000–1046 BC, left behind the first clear written records in China oracle bones used for divination. These bones reveal a highly organized society with powerful kings who ruled through ritual, warfare, and human sacrifice. The Shang were eventually overthrown by the Zhou around 1046 BC. The Zhou introduced one of the most important ideas in Chinese history, the mandate of heaven. According to this belief, the right to rule came from divine approval. If a ruler became corrupt, tyrannical, or incompetent, heaven would withdraw its support, and rebellion was not only justified, but morally required. This concept justified the overthrow of dynasties for the next 3,000 years and remains one of the most powerful political ideas in Chinese history. The Warring States period and the birth of Chinese philosophy. As the Zhou dynasty weakened, China descended into chaos. Between the 5th and 3rd centuries BC, 7 major states fought for supremacy in what became known as the Warring States period. It was one of the most violent and creative eras in human history. During this time of constant warfare, China produced some of its greatest thinkers. Confucius, 551–479 BC, taught that society should be based on virtue, hierarchy, and proper relationships. His ideas about filial piety, education, and moral leadership became the foundation of Chinese governance for over 2 millennia. Laozi, the founder of Taoism, preached living in harmony with the Tao, the natural way of the universe. His philosophy emphasized simplicity, balance, and going with the flow. Sun Tzu wrote The Art of War, the world's most famous military treatise. Its lessons on strategy, deception, and leadership are still studied today by generals, CEOs, and politicians around the globe, including in the United States. These philosophies were born in blood and fire. They were attempts to answer one urgent question: how can humans create order out of chaos? Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor who united China. In 221 BC, a ruthless and brilliant king named Ying Zheng conquered all rival states and declared himself Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor of China. He was only 38 years old. Qin Shi Huang was a man of terrifying ambition. He standardized writing, currency, weights, and measurements across the entire country. He built roads and canals that connected his vast empire. He ordered the construction of an early version of the Great Wall to defend against northern nomads. And he built himself a tomb so massive and elaborate that it included over 8,000 life-sized terracotta warriors, one of the greatest archaeological discoveries of the 20th century. But his rule was also brutal. He burned books that contradicted his ideas, buried scholars alive, and enforced harsh laws. The Qin dynasty lasted only 15 years after his death, but it created the model of centralized imperial rule that would define China for the next 2,000 years. The Han Dynasty, China's first golden age. After the collapse of Qin, a former peasant named Liu Bang founded the Han Dynasty in 206 BC. The Han period, 206 BC, 220 AD, is often considered China's first golden age. Under the Han, China expanded dramatically through the Silk Road. Chinese silk, lacquerware, and iron reached as far as Rome. The empire's population grew to over 60 million. The Han invented paper, improved the seismograph, and developed advanced agricultural techniques. Most importantly, Emperor Wu of Han made Confucianism the official state ideology. From then on, Chinese officials were selected through rigorous civil service examinations based on Confucian classics, a system that lasted until 1905. The Han dynasty eventually collapsed due to corruption, peasant rebellions, and warlordism, leading to the chaotic Three Kingdoms period, 220–280 AD. This era of legendary heroes like Cao Cao, Liu Bei, and Zhuge Liang was later immortalized in the classic novel Romance of the Three Kingdoms, the Tang Dynasty, the most cosmopolitan empire on earth. After centuries of division, the Tang Dynasty, 618–907, brought China back to glory. Under emperors like Taizong and Xuanzong, Tang China became the most powerful, wealthy, and culturally sophisticated civilization on the planet. Chang'an, modern Xi'an, was the largest city in the world, with over 1 million residents. It was a truly international city, where Persians, Indians, Arabs, Koreans, and Japanese lived side by side. Buddhism, Taoism, and Christianity coexisted. The Tang produced some of China's greatest poets, Li Bai, Du Fu, and Wang Wei. Their poetry is still studied and loved today. The dynasty also saw major advances in medicine, astronomy, and printing technology. However, the Tang eventually declined due to corruption, eunuch influence, and devastating rebellions. The An-Lushan Rebellion, 755–763, nearly destroyed the dynasty and killed millions. The Song Dynasty, innovation without military strength. The Song Dynasty, 961–279, is one of the most remarkable periods in Chinese history. Economically and technologically, it was incredibly advanced. The Song invented movable type printing, paper money, gunpowder weapons, and the magnetic compass. Their economy was the most sophisticated in the world. Yet militarily, the Song were weak. They lost northern China to the Jurchens and eventually fell to the Mongols. The Song period shows a fascinating pattern in Chinese history. Periods of great cultural and economic achievement often coincided with military vulnerability. The Mongol conquest and the Yuan dynasty. In the 13th century, the Mongols under Genghis Khan and his successors conquered more territory than any empire in history. Genghis Khan's grandson, Kublai Khan, completed the conquest of China in 1279 and founded the Yuan dynasty. For the first time, all of China was ruled by foreigners. The Mongols were effective administrators, but were deeply resented by many Chinese. They divided society into strict classes, with Mongols at the top and southern Chinese at the bottom. It was during the Yuan period that the Italian merchant Marco Polo supposedly visited China. His descriptions of Chinese wealth and technology astonished Europe. The Yuan dynasty collapsed in 1368 after peasant rebellions and internal conflicts. The Ming dynasty. Restoration and exploration. In 1368, a peasant rebel named Zhu Yuanzhang founded the Ming dynasty. The Ming restored native Chinese rule and brought stability after decades of chaos. The Ming dynasty is famous for several achievements: the construction of the Forbidden City in Beijing, the rebuilding of the Great Wall to its current form, the massive treasure voyages of Admiral Zheng He, who sailed across the Indian Ocean with fleets of hundreds of ships, reaching Africa decades before European explorers. The Ming also saw a flowering of Chinese literature, philosophy, and art. However, later Ming emperors became increasingly isolated and incompetent. Corruption and eunuch power weakened the dynasty. In 1644, the Manchus from the north invaded and established the Qing dynasty. The Qing dynasty, the last empire. The Qing dynasty, 1644–1912, was China's last imperial dynasty. At its peak, under the Kangxi, Yongzheng, and Qianlong emperors, Qing China was the largest and most powerful empire on earth. Its territory included modern China, Mongolia, Tibet, Xinjiang, and parts of Central Asia. The Qing presided over a massive population boom and a flourishing economy. However, by the 19th century, the dynasty faced severe challenges from within and without. The Opium Wars, with Britain, 1839, 1842, and 1856, 1860, forced China to open its ports and cede Hong Kong. The Taiping Rebellion, 1850–1864, one of the deadliest conflicts in human history, killed between 20 and 30 million people. Foreign powers carved China into spheres of influence. By the early 20th century, the Qing dynasty was widely seen as weak and outdated. In 1911, the Xinhai Revolution overthrew the last emperor, ending over 2,000 years of imperial rule. The Republic, War, and Revolution. The early years of the Republic of China were chaotic. Warlords fought for control. Sun Yat-sen tried to build a modern democracy, but faced constant opposition. In the 1930s and 1940s, China suffered terribly. Japan invaded in 1937, leading to one of the most brutal occupations in history. The Nanjing Massacre alone killed hundreds of thousands of civilians. World War II in China cost the lives of 15–20 million people. After Japan's defeat, civil war broke out between Chiang Kai-shek's nationalists and Mao Zedong's communists. In 1949, the communists won and established the People's Republic of China. Chiang Kai-shek retreated to Taiwan. Mao's China, revolution and turmoil. Under Mao Zedong, China underwent radical transformation. Land was redistributed, industry was nationalized, and society was reorganized along communist lines. However, Mao's policies also caused enormous suffering. The Great Leap Forward, 1958, 1962, led to the deadliest famine in history, killing an estimated 15–55 million people. The Cultural Revolution, 1966, 1976, unleashed chaos, persecution, and violence across the country. Mao died in 1976. His legacy remains deeply controversial in China to this day. Deng Xiaoping and the rise of modern China. After Mao's death, Deng Xiaoping launched economic reforms in 1978. He opened China to foreign investment, allowed private enterprise, and famously declared that, "To get rich is glorious." The results were extraordinary. China's economy grew at an average of nearly 10% per year for over 3 decades. Hundreds of millions of people were lifted out of poverty. Cities like Shanghai, Shenzhen, and Beijing transformed into futuristic megacities. High-speed rail, skyscrapers, and technological innovation made China a global leader. Today, China is the world's second-largest economy and a major technological and military power. It has become a central player in global affairs. China's enduring legacy and future. China's 5,000-year history is a story of remarkable resilience. It has survived countless invasions, rebellions, and dynastic collapses. It has repeatedly rebuilt itself stronger than before. From the invention of paper and printing to the philosophies of Confucius and Laozi, from the Great Wall to the Terracotta Army, from the Silk Road to today's Belt and Road Initiative, China has left an indelible mark on human civilization. Its story contains powerful lessons about the rise and fall of empires, the importance of good governance, and the enduring power of culture and ideas. As China continues to rise in the 21st century, understanding its long and complex history has never been more important, not just for historians, but for anyone who wants to understand the forces shaping our shared future.